What's up, Ports fans? Tim Fitzgerald here with Ports third baseman Luke Mann. Luke, we're going to get to know you a little bit, talk a little baseball, and, real talk. Full disclosure here, I wanted to have a little sit down with the fellow St. Louis guy. Just a couple of St. Louis guys hanging out here talking. So we're going to start with that. We're going to start very St. Louis, okay?
Yeah.
Where were you when David Freese hit the walk-off home run in Game 6, 2011?
Game 6, I probably was at home for Game 6, but I remember for Game 7, my mom used to work for Anheuser-Busch, and as everybody in St. Louis knows, like Busch Stadium, Budweiser beer, you associate that all with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So they had a huge watch party at AB, and I remember we were just in some big conference room watching, I think it was Alan Craig who caught the ball in left, and everyone's reactions to that. So more remember Game 7 when they actually won in the big ceremony and the trophy celebration.
Yeah.
Specifically in the home run, I was probably not allowed to stay up that late.
Yeah. Back then, you were just, 11 years old?
Yeah,
back
something
then?
like that.
Yeah, okay. Who's your favorite player growing up?
I always really liked Scott Rowland growing up.
Yeah,
I
makes sense.
Who was the left-handed center fielder? Rick Ankiel.
Oh, yeah.
I was a big fan of him,
Yeah.
left-handed swing,
Two-way
but
star,
get a third baseman, Scott Rowland.
Yeah.
I like those kind of guys. Obviously, everybody loved Pujols, everyone loved Molina, everyone loved Wainwright, but although they were great players, I just not necessarily wanted to be different. I just always watched guys who played my position. Daniel Descalso, people don't really remember him being a Cardinal much, but I had him as my background on my phone for a while because I liked him.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Awesome. That's the one thing that people don't think about is some of those unsung guys, some of those the fan favorite types. We're big on those in St. Louis. Let's talk about yourself as a player. You mentioned being a fan of those two third basemen. Who else inspired you growing up? Anybody whose playing style maybe you reflect a little bit?
I don't know if there was anybody I particularly tried to model my game after, but just kind of growing up, I knew I had a certain type of swing. I pitched more than I hit growing up, and if you had asked me when I was in high school if I'd be in pro ball as a pitcher or hitter, I probably would have said a pitcher.
Right.
But nobody really in particular. I had a bunch of coaches who were dead set on making me know that be yourself before trying to be somebody else. So just kind of staying true to that. Yeah, there's guys I really like to watch or like certain movements at third or short, but not necessarily trying to do what they do, but find a way that I can do stuff similar.
Right on. Where does that transition happen? You pitched for a couple of years at Mizzou, and then strictly over to being an infielder, being a third baseman. What was the impetus for that? What was the inspiration for it?
So I guess it was, I only threw maybe 7 or 8 innings my freshman year, threw a lot in the fall my sophomore year before COVID. But once I got to Mizzou, it was a lot of, they had pitching, they needed bats, so I was more emphasized as a hitter. So I'd go through, do all my position stuff, and then all my bullpens or pitching work would kind of be put on the afterburner, after everything. So hitting and fielding definitely took precedent because that's just kind of what they needed at the time. And just after a little bit, I realized hitting was slacking a little bit. My velo on the mound went down from doing a bunch of throws. We really didn't find a good way to fit a two-way schedule in.
I see.
So I was like, sacrifice one. I'll hit now because it's easier to go back to pitching later if anybody ever needs me to. But ended up going with the bat, and then after that year started to light up the plate.
Gotcha. Talk about your process of becoming a pro, starting with getting the call about being drafted and then hitting into rookie ball, now here with the Ports. What's that process been like?
Yeah, so the year before this year, whenever I got drafted, the whole family took off expecting to get signed after my first senior year, after my junior year.
Yeah.
And didn't get a call, was just sitting around, waiting around, watched every single pick, watched a lot of my friends get picked up, which was really cool. But once the last round was over, not hearing my name, it was kind of a shocking moment. I really didn't know what to do. Went back to Mizzou for another year, had some unfinished business with the Tigers that I want to take care of. And then this year was almost a little more of the same. Didn't really get any calls on day one or late day two, and was kind of getting a little nervous about it. And actually me, my fiance, and my sister were all sitting around the kitchen table, and we're like, you know what, I can't stand just sitting looking at this phone, let's go out to eat.
Yep.
And I got a text from my strength coach in college being like, congratulations, man, I knew it. And I'm like, all right, what just happened? I didn't get any call or anything. I just saw my name on the draft tracker. So I ended up getting picked up and was getting phone calls and texts like crazy. Just congrats. So.
That is such a common story. People are like, okay, you know what? I'm going to leave for a little bit. I'm going to step away from this. Next thing you know, I get drafted. That's always when it happens, right? Your thoughts on your first full season here at A-ball right now. What are you working on? What do you want to continue to develop as a player? What are you liking so far about your game?
Well, the main thing that I've noticed, the difference of college, like the level of play is very similar, but it's just more of like consistency and day in and day out. And in college ball, you play midweek on Tuesday, you have a couple days off, you play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you have time to work on stuff in the cage in between. You have days in between to game plan, days to let stuff go, days to hang on stuff. But here you play 6 days a week, and you just gotta, all right, you went 0 for 5 today, you gotta wipe it because you got a game in however many hours. You went 5 for 5 today, you gotta wipe it because you got another one coming up. So just because you did something the day before doesn't mean it's automatically gonna happen the next. So finding those routines to just try to stay as consistent as possible.
Well, Luke, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us here.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in.
Appreciate it.